Welcome to tonight's July 7th Mainland Planning Commission meeting. You want to do the invocation and pledge? Sure. Okay, we'll have the invocation and pledge.
Please join us in prayer. Heavenly Father, we love you. We thank you for this opportunity to come before you tonight to give you praise for all the mercies and blessings that you bestow upon us individually. Father, we ask that you give us wisdom to do the county's business tonight. Father, we ask for your discernment. And Father, we ask that you bless this meeting and your will be done. And Father, we ask these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, folks, I'd like to welcome you again to Tuesday, July 7th, 2024. I'm sorry, July 9th. I've already been warned about that one time. All right, the first thing I need to do is read our meeting procedures, and I'd like for everyone to listen to these very carefully. Our meeting procedures: the planning staff presents the application request to the Planning Commission during the staff's report. This report evaluates how the proposal conforms to the Glenn County zoning ordinance and other applicable regulations and conforms to the comprehensive plan when applied to zoning matters and ordinances. Applicants shall have the opportunity to present their request to the Planning Commission. It is the responsibility of applicants to make presentations on request and to address any conditions or factual findings with which they do not agree. The public portion hearing, the public comments on public hearing items will be limited to 30 minutes for each opposing side, with a maximum of 5 minutes allocated to each speaker. Comments are limited to relevant information regarding your position and should avoid being repetitious. If your group has a spokesperson, please allow that individual to present your group's position in the time allotted. The applicant may then provide a rebuttal to any testimony. The chairman may terminate testimony if it becomes repetitive. The chairman will terminate a speaker's time if the speaker begins personal attacks. Your cooperation in this process will be greatly appreciated. All right, I have a note. I have two commissioners out. Commissioner Gibbs and Commissioner Dawson are absent tonight. Okay, any business, Ms. Leaf? No, sir. Okay, perfect. All right, Mr.
Going in the regular order?
Yes.
For the thing?
No, we need, we would like to move item ZM 24-18 Blythe Island Estates to the front of the agenda, and we have to take a vote on that, folks. Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we move ZM 24-18 to the top of the agenda.
Okay, I'll second that. All right, and all A's? 5-0. Okay, so that passes. So ZM 24-18 Blythe Island Estates rezone will be our first order of business tonight. Okay. All right, let's go back to 1.1 on our agenda, and we need to approve the minutes of the regular meeting for the Mainland Planning Commission held on June the 4th, 2024, subject to any necessary corrections. Commissioners?
Motion to approve is submitted.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? The vote is 5-0. All right, now we're ready to start on our agenda item, ZM-24-18, Blythe Island rezone. Consider approval for a rezone of property from R20 to M20 zoning districts to Planned Development District for the purpose of farm agricultural, single-family residential, conservation, preservation, and outdoor advertising signs. Property is located on Blythe Island and access from Brentwood Circle. Unaddressed parcels is 03-17660, 03-26645, 03-27881, and 03-28083. Taylor Dove, Hunter McLean Attorneys, for Miss Miranda Music Smith, owner. Okay. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Commissioners. Stephanie Leaf, Planning Manager. So this is the Blythe Estates rezone application, and they are looking to rezone several parcels from R20 and M20, which are single-family zoning districts. The difference is R20 allows a single-family home, M20 would allow a manufactured home on the property, and they are looking to rezone to Planned Development District to really incorporate several different uses within the area. So there is some farm agricultural that they would like to keep on the property. There is some FA zoning that's adjacent. Single-family residential, that would be 20,000 square foot lots. So that'd be similar to the R20 that it already is zoned, as well as what's adjacent. And conservation, preservation, and then they also want to add the ability to have outdoor advertising signs. And so there is a copy of the plan development text in your packet, and that just an excerpt from that PD that does show all of the uses just up on the screen here. So I think what I'll do is go straight to the master plan. They did submit 2 new documents today. They did update the master plans that was submitted, so they have these 2 different pages that would show, so the one on the left shows a couple of the parcels right here, and then the one on the right shows this parcel. And then this access road, it's a separate parcel on its own, but I'll call it just an access road just for this purpose of this meeting. But this is a separate parcel on its own that would also be part of the rezone. And then here's the PD text that is in your packet. And these are your possible motions, and staff did make some suggestions regarding the motion that if you are inclined to approve or recommend approval of this application this evening, there has been concerns in the past with outdoor advertising in this location, and so staff was recommending that outdoor advertising may not be appropriate for this particular site, so removing that as a use from the PD. And then really just a note for the PD, they are asking for 20,000 square foot lots, but the property does not have public water or public sewer available to it at this time. And currently the Department of Health regulations state that for a septic and well, it needs to be a minimum of 1 acre. And so really just for the record that they could be rezoned to 20,000 square foot lots in the case that they do have public water and sewer in the future or have another kind of community well or sewer. But for right now, they would just need to ensure that those environmental health regulations are met for whatever the lot size ends up being for this property. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and I know Ms. Miranda Smith, the applicant, and her attorney, Taylor Dove, are here this evening.
Commissioners?
I have a question. The staff report said it was zoned R20 and M20. I saw an M20 farther down on the row of lots in there, but I didn't see where any of these particular parcels were zoned M20.
We're zoned M20. I think it's this one right here. That's M20. I'm trying to think. We usually have I don't think we got the zoning map in here for this presentation, but I believe it is this parcel here. But we can confirm that for sure.
Okay.
So I have a question. So you have existing lots within the PD text, and my experience with environmental health is if it's an existing deeded lot, they have to work with you on, even if it's less than an acre. So this wouldn't, the PD text doesn't wipe that out. Those lot lines, there's still lots of record.
They are still lots. In terms of being lots of record, I may need to defer to the attorney on this one. These lots are split lots, so the lot of record actually went across where I-95 is now. So that was the original lot of record. So the I-95 did split it. So basically it divided those two in half. So I think because of when that was done in the 1960s, I would believe that these would still be considered lots of record. So I think that is a good point if that would still need to be honored. The PD text would not do away with that. It would still be, if they are lots of record now, they would continue to be so.
And generally, my experience anyway with environmental health is if they were existing lots at the time that the new regulations were put into effect, that you had to have an acre, that if it existed before that, they work with you. Now, you might have to get the most expensive septic tank ever, but, you know, they can't just deny you. I see you agreeing, so I just wanted to make sure, because I saw her eyes when you said that about just making sure that what we weren't doing, weren't putting, you know, that she knew whether that was affecting that or not. So.
Right. Yeah, it was more just, I guess, kind of an awareness of environmental health, you know, regulations would come into play. So there may be something there may be a restriction on these lots that would potentially limit it. So really just kind of pushing that to their determination when it gets to that point.
Okay, commissioners? Okay, Ms. Leaf, I think that's it.
Thank you.
Okay, would the applicant's agent or applicant like to step forward?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Taylor Dove. I'm here on behalf of Ms. Miranda Smith with regard to this request for a rezone from 4 parcels from R20 and M20 to a PD text or a plan development. Kind of wanted to highlight some of the things Stephanie didn't mention, but so these 4 parcels are, the uses we are proposing here are to keep it relatively residential, which is in sort of compliance with the comprehensive plan for Blythe Island. We're not trying to push any type of commercial uses here, with the exception, I think the billboard aspect is kind of where we divert from where Stephanie is on this. We would ask that the Planning Commission recommend approval as currently presented. The effective space or use for this billboard would be, as you can see up here on this, the very small, tiny, landlocked parcel that is not really, has no use other than, in our view, as a place to put a billboard. Is conveniently located right along Interstate 95. It is a densely wooded area. The closest residence, I believe, is over 700 feet away, and there's a buffer of 700 feet of trees, tall pine trees, that would make any billboard in that particular area virtually invisible from anywhere, from anyone's residence or from the nearby neighborhood. Again, the general uses we've proposed are in accordance with the others in the area. To answer your question from before, the top parcel is the one that is zoned M20, and the bottom 2 are R20, along with what I'll call the access road. Just to answer the question from earlier. In reviewing the report and the items that the Planning Commission is to consider, generally our request wouldn't change the nature of the properties or the nearby area. It's not like we're trying to bring in some commercial establishment. It's going to remain residential, single-family residential. We did submit a master plan of sorts that provides for really only 2 possible uses of this property, which is one, to put a potential dwelling. We don't have currently any plans to do so, and if we do get to that point, we obviously will comply with some of the concerns that Stephanie had with the lot sizes and private or public sewage and the Department of Health's requirements related thereto. We don't currently have any site plans for that now. It's something, when we get to that point, we will submit. And then the other, as I said before, is for the placement of a billboard on that small triangular piece. And that's the scope of our master plan as it is presented today. And again, we're not trying to say that we don't have to meet any of the other billboard requirements. That's a bridge we'll have to cross when we get there. Obviously, we'll comply with, or the PD text requires us to comply with the ordinances as it relates to outdoor advertising signs. And we will be sure to comply with those. And that is really, I'm happy to take any questions. That's kind of just a basic overview of what we're here for today. And again, we'd ask that the Planning Commission recommend approval as currently presented, minus, and not with the stipulation that the outdoor advertising signs be removed.
Okay. Staff, do we have any further questions for the agent?
You made us staff.
I mean, commissioners, I'm sorry.
A little bit far back in the memory, but I know at one point in the past, I believe it was on this parcel, we discussed whether it would be a lit billboards or unlit billboards.
Yeah, so it's my understanding that they would not be lit, and we have in here a height restriction of 35 feet, so that way it's lower than the trees around it, so it really would be blocked by all of the trees. It would stay low to the ground. It wouldn't be an eyesore to, again, anyone nearby. It wouldn't be visible from anywhere other than Interstate 95.
Okay. Commissioners, any additional questions? Okay, thank you, sir. All right, it's time to hear from the public. Could I get everybody that's in opposition to this to step forward? Okay, sir, could I get you to state your name?
William Robinson. I live in the neighborhood.
You have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I moved in the neighborhood 9 years ago, and at that, I'm a local realtor, so at that time, there were a lot of foreclosures. Now there's none. This neighborhood is revitalized. The houses at that time were going for $130,000. Now they're going for 400 and above. Acres and acres of trees were removed a few years ago, and the noise level is unbearable. You can hear the 95 from inside your house. You can see the trucks on 95 when you just drive through the neighborhood. It's not something the neighbors wanted. It was supposed to be a horse farm. It was approved. I don't know if there are any horses there. I haven't seen any horses. Logging trucks came through the neighborhood, removing trees, messing up the roads. Nothing's been done to the roads. Nothing. Our ditches are full of water. I think it's been brought up with some of the commissioners about redoing the ditches and cleaning them out. If you drive through there today, there's houses, the properties are flooded, the roads are flooded because of the ditches. If you put more houses in the neighborhood, there's only one way in, one way out. Work on the drainage problem first before you decide to put more houses. Are they going to be individual houses? Are they going to be rental houses? What's the property value is going to be? What sizes are they going to be? Yep, that's about it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next.
Hi, my name's A.W. Teal, and I live on Cameron Place. And before, everything was really nice in Cameron Place, and I didn't want the horse farm to go in there, the agriculture in there, because as it is right now, like he said, there was trees and everything blocked the interstate. Well, now there's noise from the interstate. As a matter of fact, when you drive down the interstate, if you look over, you can actually see our house, which is almost in the middle of Cameron Place. You can see it from 95. And when my daughter says, hey, I just saw your shed from 95, I didn't believe it. So I went and I drove 95 and I said, all the trees are gone, so yeah, you can see our house from 95. And if you can see our house, you know we can hear it. So that really upsets me. And what he just pointed out was that right now they want to rezone this, but they don't really have any plans of building any houses. They don't have any. Why, when they decide to build houses or do whatever they want to do with it, why don't they then have it rezoned? Why rezone it when you have no plans of doing anything else? So, and there was one other thing that I saw where it said Blythe Estates, I never heard of Blythe Estates before. I don't know if there's really a Blythe Estates at all. So I tried Googling it and everything else, and there's no such thing as Blythe Estates that I could find. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Sir, I'd like to say one thing.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just saying this because I am a master timber harvester, and I do know the law about harvesting timber.
Okay.
You don't have to get any permits. If you own the property, you can cut any trees you want to cut,
Okay.
period. That's the end of it. I mean, they did what was right. I mean, if they cut the timber on their property, that's
That's up to them.
up
Okay.
to them. Yes, sir. The only thing I can tell you is if it would have been that big of an issue to you, you should have made arrangements to buy it prior to this happening. And that's,
Oh, yes, sir.
the only reason why I'm very defensive of that is because timber companies have the right, and individuals have the right to cut their timber when they get ready to. And it seems like it's always a fight now when you go to a piece of property and you want to cut the timber. People act like you're just breaking the law. The law is you can cut your timber when you get ready to, regardless. You don't have to ask Glenn County nothing. You don't have to ask the state of Georgia nothing. All you have to have is a property owner that's willing and a timber harvester like myself that can cut it.
Okay. I understand. I do respect that, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. Thank you. My first name is just the letter A. I don't have it. My parents gave me an initial name. My middle name is just W. So when I said my name is A.W. Teal, and it's T-E-E-L. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, next.
Hello, my name is Shirley Rayon Teal. This is my husband, and we live at 352 Brentwood Circle, which is just a few houses down from where this development is taking place. And our biggest concern is we really don't know what they plan to do with all that property. They really, a year or so ago, we were told it was going to be a horse farm. And like my husband said, we've seen no horses. They've been building back there and clearing property. My major concern would be the additional traffic in Brentwood Circle. There's only one way in and one way out. And if they're going to build a few houses here, then what are they going to do later on? When that's approved, they're going to continue to build more houses in that area. And like Bill Robinson said about the flooding, it's a major issue in our area. And to be honest with you, we didn't know that property was for sale because it's always been swampy and very low and held water in there. We didn't know it was for sale. So that would be my major concern. And honestly, to know what their master plan is for that property that's going to affect our subdivision. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Next.
My name is Cynthia Robinson, and I live on Brentwood Circle. My concern is the traffic. This neighborhood is a family-friendly neighborhood. There are a lot of pets and people walking all the time. They walk their pets, they walk their children. My concern is definitely this traffic, but also in his presentation, I heard the word fabricated homes. I want to know what quality of homes is someone considering putting in a neighborhood that is established, well cared for, and has property values in the 400 range. This is a huge concern to me, not just as a person that lives in the neighborhood. I'm an established realtor. This sounds inappropriate. And I beg you to reconsider, or at least give us time to pull some more information and data to come back to you with our case and our cause.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, next.
Hey, good evening. My name is Benjamin Church. I'm also a Cameron Place resident. Last year, I came out and opposed the billboard change to the zoning, and that was not allowed. And I feel like this was just kind of a runaround of that. We're basically back to putting billboards on the property that's going to be visible from our neighborhood. It's going to change the character of Blythe Island, and I oppose it. In addition, I've received harassment and letters threatening litigation from Miss Music after I just spoke my mind at the last meeting. I didn't appreciate that. She made threats outside that she was going to ruin drainage in our neighborhood following her losing the vote. I didn't appreciate that, and I've emailed the commission on both these things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Ed Van Otteren.
I'm also a Cameron Place resident. I question some of the things that were said. He described the property as being heavily timbered. You've heard from several of these other people that property is no longer heavily timbered. That property has been timbered, okay? Nothing we can do about that, I understand that. But you look at this and it's only three, well, it's 4 parcels, okay? One's an access road, one's a tiny little piece. But I wonder what the real long-term goal is for them. Miss Music owns several other pieces in there. Why is she doing just these couple right here? Why isn't she doing all of what she owns in there? You know, I'm really apprehensive about what her long-term goals are. And if her long-term goal is to put manufactured housing in there, or several houses in there, it's really going to change the aspect of our neighborhood. Our neighborhood, as what was said, is very family friendly. You can come in the front drive, you come off of Brentwood, you turn onto Brentwood Circle, and there's kids that are playing right there in the street just about all day long. You know, we want to maintain that sort of atmosphere to where kids can come out and play in their houses. We don't want just a pile of traffic coming through there. And if their long-term goal, because she does own lots of land in there, is to put a lot of houses, I'm really against it, because that will drastically increase the traffic that is on Brentwood Circle, which there is only one way in and one way out. As for drainage has always been an issue in there. You know, there is a big swamp that backs up to the back side of it. It just is what it is. Ditches need to be pulled every now and then. I don't know that they would really affect how our drainage goes. I really haven't walked that drainage, the swamp in back, and how the drainage ditches run to really know how it's going, but I do know that drainage is an issue, particularly on wet years like what this one is, and during real heavy rainstorms. The last hurricane that came through, what was it, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, water came up to within about an inch of coming into our house. You know, I mean, it was just all flooded. Now, yeah, that dropped a lot of rain, but there should be some kind of, there should be some kind of survey done as to what the drainage can withstand. That's really all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, is that all in opposition? Okay. Okay, could we hear from all the people that are in favor?
Hello and good afternoon. My name is April Crosby. I live at 540 Blythe Island Drive. I live right behind the Jiffy Store. All of these people go past my house every day. It doesn't cause me a problem with traffic, and I have animals and children. It's the same thing as you're opening to your neighborhood. I also plan on living on that piece of property. So I don't understand why we would have anything to do with your drainage. That's a county issue. That's all I have to say.
Good. Thank you, ma'am. All right, anyone else who would like to speak in favor? All right, Mr. Agent, you like to step up here and answer any questions or rebut anything that was said?
Yeah, just some rebuttal things. I don't know that I mentioned any fabricated homes or manufactured homes. The PD text wouldn't allow for that, I don't believe anyways. But the master plan we submitted calls for one dwelling unit, and you just heard from who would be the one potentially constructing that dwelling unit. It's not like it's going to be 10 homes and a bunch of it's 1 or 2 extra cars coming through the neighborhood, if and when that were to happen. As far as the timber goes, I'm happy to share a photograph that was taken today from the overpass of Python Road that shows it's still very heavily timbered in this particular section. I'd have to pull up a map, but I imagine most of the timber cutting they're referring to was on the other side of the access road. There's still several hundred feet of trees that would serve as a buffer between the billboard and the neighborhood. And in addition, whoever is to build the dwelling unit on that particular lot, I imagine is going to want to keep a significant buffer because they also don't want to see Interstate 95 or hear Interstate 95. So there's no real incentive with respect to these particular parcels to do any significant timber cutting, and I don't anticipate that my client would be doing that. And I'm happy to take any questions they may have, but Miranda. Yeah, and we brought a bunch of photographs from today that show the current status of the particular parcels at issue.
I'm Miranda, I'm the applicant. I did take photos this morning. I had to drive to Jacksonville, so I took photos coming back and forth and from Black Island. I've left a significant amount of property and buffer that you cannot see through. I kind of find it a little offensive because most of my immediate neighbors are very thankful that I did that, and they're not able to see through anything that I have in the back. And he definitely cannot see his roof. Maybe right after they timbered, he maybe could. However, the husband and wife that came up, they apparently don't realize that they've been in code violations for about 2 years when they completely remodeled and overhauled the Purple People Eater bus to now it's Miss Daisy, and I watched that, and the several offshore boats that are sitting on the corner there. My property is not, you don't see horses because it's 100 degrees outside, and my horses are under fans in the barn. So there are 3 horses there. Other people have seen them. I don't know why that, you're not supposed to see them. That is the whole objective of leaving the 3-acre buffer, which is R20, in the middle of Bradenberry area, and then this access is not even on that end. There's a maximum of, it's all the first ones, I think. There's a maximum of 4 homes or residents on the PD text regardless for a private type drive, which is all this is on the master plan. If I were to develop it or wish to develop it, then the trees would come down and all of the homes would create more traffic. What I am requesting is providing for a private, Blythe Estates is the name of my project. So it does exist now if this is passed. However, I don't want anyone being able to drive back there. I mean, it's a gated property. It's going to extend, there's a gate that's on the master plan that it will extend off of the privacy fence that's there already, I believe is 8 foot down Baker Warren's property. And yeah, and all I know is my immediate neighbors appreciate that they're unable to see. Yeah, okay, so is it larger than that? Okay, so this is from the interstate facing going north, and that is the roof of the barn that is there. And to the left, that's all woods that were left. Behind that, that's all the 3-acre buffer that's at the very top. It's showing farm ag on the map that was provided in the staff report, but that particular 3 acres is still R20, and I left that intentionally to block any view or visibility and sound. If homes go in there, the sound is going to be affected. At this point, the way I have designed it is what you see now is the most developed it's going to be. It's growing back. You know, we've had a wet winter and it's very thick. Do you happen to do it one at a time?
Yeah,
or?
I can't see them all.
Okay. Here, I can do it real quick. All right, so this is at the southern end, which is not part of the request, but you can see that the left here, that's headed back towards Cameron Place. I can't,
It's as big as this.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to move it forward, right there.
Yeah, here, I got you. Move to the next one.
Okay. This is still at the lower end, and that's the roof of my barn. This is on the right-hand side, on the east side, which is on the Blythe Island Drive side. And if you see in the kind of middle left, that's the top of a roof. All of that, that's at 751 or 715, I think, 716 Blythe Island Drive, and that's the top of the roof. All of that is buffer. That's not my privacy, that's their privacy. If they remove it, then they don't have privacy. I really don't feel like I'm responsible for that privacy. And all of those homes on the distance are 749 to 753. That, okay, exactly, from here, this drawing. I haven't shown you where the pyramid starts from, but all of those distances are 749, 725, 759, and then all the way down to the Hillary Trace subdivision, which all of that in between is timber, it's woods. I don't even have the ability to cut that. It's not on my side. It is 1,450 feet, and the billboard or sign rule is 300 feet from a home. I would like to show the density of, there was a panoramic one, because that's the 3-acre buffer. Okay, the arrows is where this particular sign exists. Okay, this buffer is to the west. All of that, right underneath that, that is a whole acre pond that I could have dug out, especially with the new wetland laws. I could have dug that out, but I left it as a visible buffer from the home way back to the far end, and that's the back side of one, looking back this way. That's 1,800 feet. Can you skip? Okay, and that's just coming back further. This is at the very bottom. The sign that we've plotted on the little small parcel is up north towards the overpass. Do you have any of that? Okay, so this is from the, okay, this is standing on the overpass. All of that to the right, that is all fully wooded timber. And, you know, before when I was here, the problem was what was imposed as far as the freeway commercial. It wasn't the outdoor advertising. The opposition was not the outdoor advertising. It was the freeway commercial zoning, considered possibly being spot zoning, which was determined not to be.
Just to go back to address the concerns, there's no intentions of clear cutting these particular properties. It's not in our best interest to do it. We likewise want to be buffered from Interstate 95. Nobody wants Interstate 95 in their backyard. And so there's no incentive for Ms. Smith to clear cut any of the trees that are going to be within the PD text.
And I will like to add as well, I haven't brought any dirt in. I dug my own pond. I could have had dump trucks. I mean, the timber wood was in and out. I'm sure you realize that. They want to get in and out to the next job as well. All of my dirt is moved around from my property.
Yeah, we're happy to address any questions.
I'd have a couple questions.
Sure.
The first one is, you mentioned the nearest house to this property is 700 feet, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll pull up.
Whose house is that?
Wesley Solomon, and he lives next to the 3-acre buffer and behind it. And the one next to that called me yesterday. They could care less unless there's flashing lights coming down. I'm friends with my immediate neighbors. The people that surround me, I'm friends with. This is not the people that are immediate. They don't realize that what they're saying and doing are actually affecting the people that are truly affected.
But yeah, so the closest home on our side of Interstate 95 is roughly 750 feet away.
And all of that is woods.
Of
right.
dense woods. Which is why, again, I think by placing an outdoor advertising sign here, no one can see it.
And the home that my sister will be in is 430 foot from that parcel as well. So even me building any home back there. And we're talking about smaller cottage-type homes. We're not talking about 2,500 square feet lots, but there are no covenants and restrictions in Cameron Place that say, oh, you can only build a 1,400 square foot home. Probably that will be the size, something enjoyable, but, you know, I don't have children, her kids are grown. We want to be able to kind of share family there together. Those two homes are 430, or the two lots, both of those distances are 430-something feet from the little small sign parcel, and the rule, again, is 300 feet.
Again, that's something that would, again, they'd be welcome to, whenever we have to submit a site plan for that particular building, there will be public comment again, presumably. So I don't think that's a matter to discuss here today. I think they're putting the cart before the horse. We're just simply asking for the property to be rezoned so that a
We can make
residential
plans.
building can be built when the time comes.
Okay. Commissioners, do we have any further questions?
I think just out of curiosity more than anything, if your intention is 2 residents, have you,
I think, according to the master plan, just one at this time.
okay, so,
The other resident is already has power near the barn on the farm ag portion, right?
property.
It's this completely different property. So that, I would come down and I would go to my cottage cabin on the left-hand side. It's about where the point is. It's already been cleared. It's ready. I've been ready. If I had not, you know, been continuously drugged and had legal expenses, and then maybe I would go ahead and build. But there's drainage issues back there too, as well.
But to answer your question, for the particular PD text, did issue, according to our master plan, just one dwelling unit is contemplated at this time. You know, whether we amend that later, probably not, but it just calls for one on the northern parcel, the bigger parcel.
I guess my question is, the road 60 feet of your, I mean, a good bit of your property, right? Of the multiple parcels. I mean, I guess I'm just asking, I'm not saying you have to do this, but did you think at all about limiting the number of residents if that's your intention on the PD text?
Yeah, I mean, I think.
It's 4.
I think the ordinance calls for 4, but I think the nature of the PT text limits it severely because the minimum lot size is 20,000 square feet. And these particular lots, you could only fit one per, you could have a maximum of 2, I think, based on the lot size, because the top parcel is, I can tell you exactly how much it is. But I think theoretically, or I think it's impossible to build more than 2 residences within the current ordinance and within the PD text.
Again, if that's the case,
Yep.
you know, why not limit the number? I'm just asking,
I
limit
think
the residents to 2.
Well,
I mean,
because on the road, rules for the private easement, it's 4. And if there is another group of, or a person that owns a parcel there, and if I did that, then say they want to come to me and ask me for access to the property, then I'm not even able to do that.
Yeah, so I guess what you said, the right-of-way parcel, it could potentially service other homeowners,
Right.
not part of PD text, but, so I think if you were to restrict
Trying to
it
be considerate.
to 2, it would,
But would their PD text impact those other property owners?
It doesn't, no.
no,
Yeah.
no, it would not. We'd have to give them an easement through the property.
So none of them have a legal easement to your road? At
Not
this point,
currently.
they're landlocked, or they have to
Correct.
get to it through another adjacent?
That is correct.
Okay.
One of the easement, or one of the drive from that 4 would be to my little cabin, and yes, I mean, we could limit to 2, but I really don't know the purpose of that. I don't plan on building any more than the 2.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to come back here again to get more. According to the PD text, our master plan calls for 1. In order to deviate from the master plan, we'd have to come before you guys again to get approval to amend the master plan anyways, so we're kind of stuck with the one as it currently stands. And again, if down the road she decides she wants more, then we again would have to go through the public comment process, and we're happy to go through this again. But as it currently stands, it's just the master plan calls for a single residence.
Is that all? Those always come to us.
All right. Ms. Smith, how many times have you been before us concerning this piece of property? I've been on the planning commission now for 4 years. I think it's been here almost once every year, hasn't it?
I think it's been 3 times. This is,
Three
I believe,
times?
my
Okay.
3rd time.
So it's been a significant amount of times.
With this particular
And,
Well,
and I don't,
not about the sign.
what I'm
no.
fixing to say,
didn't
I
own
don't
it.
want you to comment, and I don't want the agent, Mr. Dub, to comment. I'm just gonna tell you where I think this is going, okay? If this continues to get turned down, what's gonna happen eventually is we gonna wake up, and go down 95 one day, and every tree is gonna be cut off, every piece of that property is gonna be clear cut, and then these people that think they really hear some noise now are really gonna hear what's going on. And I'm not saying that I can't do it, I'm not saying that as a threatening thing, but I can just see this is where it's going, in that direction. So we all need to give this some serious thought, because these people that are in these front 2 rows are gonna be extremely aggravated and mad at the world when they wake up and Miss Smith uses her Georgia state law right to cut every tree off of her property. And I'm just putting it out here. What we're all talking about and what we're all in an uproar about here is, what is it, 1 billboard sign on 95 or 2 billboard signs on 95?
It's one. It's pretty restricted by the size of that lot and the setbacks.
And Ms. Leaf, I would like to ask you this question directly. Would the county's position be that 95 is a commercial corridor?
Yes, I would say it is commercial.
I would think it would have to be. So we all probably need to really reevaluate this thing, and because I can tell you this is not going to end up well. That's all I'm going to say. This is not going to end up well if this continues to go in this direction.
Just real quick to piggyback, we're trying to do the most economical and beneficial use of this particular property. It's a piece of property that was landlocked because of the Interstate 95 coming in and splitting the parcels. And so we're trying to do our best to use these pieces of property economically and for the benefit of not just Ms. Smith, but the neighborhood, honestly. And so this is, in my opinion, the only use that this property can serve without, like you said, clear cutting it and just using it as a means of profit for timber. We're trying to keep it all there.
Yeah, and I just want to circle back. I think a lot, when people come and they're in opposition of something, you know, human nature, you bring your tool belt full of all the issues you've got, right? And I think sometimes in this group, we've been able to come to some really good compromises. So, you know, things like, I'm only going to build this much. They think there's, you know, the opposition, if you want to call them that, think there's going to be a lot more than that. That's a compromise, not me saying you got to, right? And sometimes then you ultimately get what you want, but you quell those fears by compromising. If that is, you know, your intention to just have 2 residents, you very well can do more than that down the road, but I think you're presenting that to us as the reason, supporting reason. So was looking for a compromise, even if it's 3, you know, just, I think in their mind it's 20, and we know it's not 20.
It could be.
Are you?
Like
Well,
he's
not
saying.
with water,
Yes.
no water and sewer, you're not gonna have 20.
Sure.
And, you know, so that, it's not gonna happen, and I think those of us that have that experience probably know it's most likely, you know, unless all of a sudden Georgia Water and Sewer decides to, you know, run out there, which I don't think any of us see
Ain't
happening. Just trying to look for, you know, clarity, as a compromise of, okay, we're gonna have a billboard, but it's only gonna be this many residents, is a really nice compromise. You don't have to do it, and we can certainly vote on it without that, but that was my suggestion.
And again, I think by the text as currently drafted, you can't build more than 2 anyways, but if you want a more clear-cut maximum residence of 2, will we consider that? And I've talked to Ms. Smith.
It's online.
I think it's just unnecessary description, just because based on the size of these parcels, you can't build more than 2 anyways, but I think we'd be happy to add that into the PD text if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, and Ms. Leaf, can I ask you a question, just to maybe give me more clarity? I know the road parcel is a big chunk of it, but it could be chopped and allocated to individual lots that have the right setbacks and all that. It can count towards the 20,000 if it's a private easement.
It could, I mean, they could replat and reconfigure so that they
Yeah.
incorporate that into it.
I mean, that's probably not very reasonable, that's a stretch. And then just 2 other things, if they change their master plan, does that come back to us, or is that a staff function?
So that would depends on what they change. So there are some criteria that would allow a change to occur without it coming back to you all, but any like change, I mean, their master plan is not very detailed. So if it was like a more detailed with lot layout and access, then they would have to come back to you all, but it's pretty vague, so I think unless they made some significant change, it probably, I don't know if it happened.
But like, I mean, what he said, that a second residence, would that come back to us, or is that a staff change?
So I don't think they're really showing, because they are showing that on the master plan that was submitted today, I see what you're saying.
They could both go there, but the problem
So
is
yeah,
that lot is not
that
1
would need to
acre.
come back
So
to you
that's
all.
what.
It would, additional,
Yes,
okay.
that would be.
But no site plan for the master plan shows 1 residence. When they go to get their building permit, that doesn't have to come back to us.
No.
Yeah, so, okay, yeah. Which is not problematic, I just wanted to clarify. In Glenn County, it doesn't come back.
Ms. Lee, is staff okay with a master plan like this that's not detailed, just a kind of sketch like this? I mean, being so vague, is staff okay with that, or?
So that is a good question. We've had a variety of different kinds of master plans that have come through. Some are more detailed. I mean, our standards in the code, I mean, do require specific things to be shown on the plan. That being said, and we've had ones that are a little bit more vague, that allow a lot more flexibility, that have come through and have been approved, by the boards, for that reason, to allow somebody to have as much flexibility as possible on their property. So, I mean, it was accepted, it is before you all tonight, but it really is up to the boards to determine if you want to see more on those plans, if you feel like it meets the criteria.
Thank you.
I'll make a comment. I was not on the planning commission when this came through here before, but I think it's pretty clear what we're seeing here is a request for a billboard on here. So, and as far as traffic goes and the number of residents you can put on there with environmental health issues, 2 is going max. That's it right now. On that, granted, you're gonna have to cut a road in there to it, but something else to help protect the residents that are already there, I'd recommend also a buffer, substantial buffer, adjacent to the signs that's gonna be put up. And it might be 80 or 100 feet adjacent to the right-of-way, 95. It's woods there. It'll help shield them and also help shield the residents that they're looking at putting in there.
It'll cut down on some noise also.
Pardon?
It'll cut down on noise
Oh, yeah,
also.
yeah. And like I said, it'll help protect the other residents, and like I said, might be 100 feet adjacent to the I-95 right-of-way, with the exception of, and you're allowed to put access through a buffer on there, but the only clearing would be for the sign itself. In that 100 foot.
I think the PD text calls for a buffer in accordance with section 613 with respect to FA zoning. I don't know what that is off the top of my head, but I feel like it's close to 100 feet, if not, it's at least 60 feet. I can't remember what, I don't have the ordinance in front of me, so I don't know. But we do contemplate having a buffer from all parts.
Right, but I don't think you mentioned a buffer size in your PD text in here.
Well,
Or
I
you said
had,
it's
prior when I was here and you weren't on the board at that time, I had mentioned dirt berm, because I have my own dirt there, and landscaped, nicely landscaped, like with magnolias and stuff behind the backdrop of the sign, which would block sound and visibility, because the trees would be up higher. So I'm not opposed to that, but to come like 100 feet back and it just be trees really comes into that a lot, but, that was my suggestion. I think dirt's more of a barrier than the trees myself.
Gary, if you put a dirt berm directly behind the billboard, that would give significant sound relief to the neighbors, from 95.
You're talking what, like a 20-foot berm?
Yes,
high
sir. Yes, sir.
In there?
Yes, sir. 20 or 30 feet.
I think still a vegetative buffer, though, that might be behind that.
Then, yes, sir. And then when you got to the top of that berm, you could plant trees on top of the berm also. It's
We
just
have
an
to
idea.
also consider that the roadway is at least 8 feet above that land. I-95 is elevated.
It's probably more than 8 feet.
Yeah. So does the 35 feet height limitation start where the sign is or at the roadbed?
No, that'll start,
Where the sign-
the 35 feet limitation will start at the ground level where the sign's going to
Okay,
sit.
all right.
I think billboards may be actually on the adjacent road surface.
I think it's a
When
minimum
we've been requested to get elevations for road surfaces, for signs, so they could determine the height of the sign on it.
So I'm incorrect? So,
I think it is from the road surface.
Well, I think there's a minimum you have to be above the road surface.
I remember this coming up last
It can't be more than 35 feet
time.
above the road surface.
Yeah, you've got to be at least 10 feet above the road
and we
surface.
talked about it last time, and that was my reference. I thought, and I could be wrong, I thought that we agreed that it would be from the surface or where because.
That's what I suggested.
If you put that sign 35 feet above 95, it'll be above the trees.
Yes, that's my concern. That's the reason I asked the question.
It's not what we're asking.
Okay,
Well,
but,
we can
last time,
dictate that
and last time we were
also.
here, we agreed, as the board, we agreed that it would be 35 feet from where the base of the sign set on the property. That's the maximum height that could be. You can, if that sign is 35 feet high and you 8 feet high and you looking on 95, you can still look down to see that sign perfectly fine.
And again, we're not trying to go above trees, but that's not what
Yeah.
we're trying to do here. We're trying to keep it below the trees. But I think it's 35 feet from the base of the sign, but you have to be at least 10 feet above the road surface.
Okay, I think Ms. Leaf put a picture of a billboard sign.
Well, that was us. But I
Is
pulled it.
that what you intend to build?
Yes, this is an example. It's not the best quality one, but it would be something similar to that height.
Say again, I didn't hear, it was something similar in height?
Yeah, to the height. It'd be something similar to
I can
this.
tell you now, Bill, I know that pine tree right there is not 75 feet tall.
Sure.
Okay, those trees are only about 15, maybe 18 years old at the max, and that tree's not gonna be 75 foot tall at 15 years. So that would tell us that that sign there is probably not even very much above, I'm gonna say 30 feet above ground level. Because that tree, I just said, that tree's not 75 feet. If you take two of those signs and you stack them on top of each other, you're not anywhere close to the top of those trees.
And again, I don't expect we'll build to 35 feet. This is more of in line with what.
And that sign, if you kind of look at the way that picture's taken, that picture is taken on a downward slope.
It's on the shoulder. It's from the shoulder of 95.
I have a question.
All right,
Can you put the tax map back up? just
Sure.
So I can,
Do you want the one with the distances, or?
It doesn't matter, so. So this actually might be for Ms. Leaf. So for the parcel that's north of, the billboard parcel, does the county have a buffer requirement that would come into play around the billboard on that property?
So I did look at the buffer requirements for, because the PD references the buffer requirements for the forest agricultural zone. So we don't actually have any requirements. If this property is zoned FA, like they're not required to have buffers around their property to buffer from adjacent uses. So I don't see that there would be any buffers that would be required for this particular, unless it's something's added, by the boards into the PD as part of an approval.
So, Ms. Smith, the piece of 0326645, I don't know if that's a 6 or a 5, but, is your intention, do you have to provide a viewing corridor for the billboard company? I mean, is your intention not to touch any of the trees from the property line on I-95 to a certain amount back? You said that.
That is actually the conservation, preservation, that whole vein, that whole vein that runs, and you can see where the hand is on there, that's all like water fallout, dry, like grass, where is hardwood, like we didn't touch that anyway, that whole vein. So it's not really buildable. We have a ditch that runs through there, but that's where it dumps out, where you see kind of the darker area just above, where his hand is. That's where all the water dumps out, like that's the water vein. You can see the tops of the cypress in there. So we don't, there's, technically you can't dig up in any type of wetland anyway, so what's gonna grow back is gonna grow back as buffer, and it's already very thickly growing back. And that was the photos that I was demonstrating today. And yes, it takes, we ended in September, just before the growing season was done. So you don't, your fall leaves and stuff are gone, but that's done now. That's done now. Things are refurbishing.
Yeah, so long story short, I don't think there's any intention to clear cut. We're gonna leave it as is.
Yeah, so I guess that's the question. We seem very on the fence about what we're going to do. Are you willing to say, off of the I-95 property line that you're not going to touch, not going to cut, and would leave as a buffer the first 30 feet of that? You said you didn't have any intention because it helps with the noise for you.
Yes, basically.
Well, I don't have intention, but I know you can't see up through there now anyway because of the way you come down, because of the way the interstate curves down. I don't understand who it would be blocking but myself. I don't really understand that.
Would you be agreeable just keeping these a buffer? It's the same kind of proposal last time.
Not if it's in the way of this visibility, because that's what, you get permits from DOT just to do view, I can't think of what it's called.
View corridors.
View corridor,
Right,
yeah.
so there's no one for it to be blocking now. It's true wetland, so I don't,
But-
I'm not gonna maintain it.
Right. No, just that it would be, so in what you cleared, did you thin out that or touch that at all in what you recently cleared?
The timber, it was timbered. There's a
Yeah,
ditch. We
okay.
had to cut, there is a ditch that catches water and runs it out.
Okay.
Catches it from running off on us, yeah.
Okay.
You can't cross over it, basically.
Just my question. If
All
you're
right,
willing to do
Commissioners,
that.
any additional questions?
Just out of curiosity, what kind of road do you have envisioned for going in there? Are you gonna asphalt it or dirt?
No,
Yeah,
sir.
we don't have any,
That's a lot of money.
yeah,
I'm trying not to do,
there's no plan in place again
yeah.
on
Right
that.
now, I can drive on it. Right
It's-
now, I
it's-
can drive on it.
Is it a private drive?
Yes.
So you can maintain it the way you would like?
It is, it's technically just my parcel, and I can drive on my own property.
It's not a right, it's truly just a piece of property. It's not even a designated right
I'm
of way.
gonna gravel it so that I am not stuck or whatever,
No,
but
We've already had the opposition comment, sir, and we can't go back that way. All right, Commissioners, any
I think
additional
Stephanie's
questions
got
for the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, just real quick, the question came up earlier about the height of the sign. And under the code, it is 35 feet from the pavement of the interstate. That is the max. So unless there was a lower height that was put into the PD, that could be potentially what they do, is 35 feet from the height
Yeah,
of the
and-
pavement.
Are we correct stating that that's what we did last time? We said it couldn't be 35 feet, is that correct?
I do remember that, yeah, one of the other ones that you did lower the
Okay.
height. I think you did it based on grade, so it couldn't be as high as the interstate height, or the
Well,
35 feet above.
it-
Is that what you're
Where-
referencing?
Right through there, if you put a sign 35 feet above the surface of 95.
Right.
That sign would be 45 feet tall, or maybe taller.
And that's what the code would allow in the sign ordinance now. So there would
Okay.
have to be provision that would require something lower than that.
All right, Commissioners, any additional questions for the agent? Okay. Any additional folks who would like to step forward and speak in favor? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing portion of this. Commissioners?
Conversation?
Yes, sir?
Okay, I think what we're looking at here is putting some limitations on this here. And one of them is going to be 35 feet above the adjacent grade for the sign height.
Correct.
And the other, I'd recommend a 100-foot undisturbed buffer around the sign. So, or make it parallel with the interstate, either one on there to help protect the residents that are out there.
You saying from the interstate right-of-way back west, 100-foot buffer through there?
Parallel with the right-of-way.
Right where the sign is going to be, or are you talking about all the way down the whole piece of property?
Both those two tracks right there,
Okay.
100-foot buffer on that.
How wide is the parcel?
They're both about 88 feet wide, so about 170, just under 200. Look for that, about 190 feet, 185 total. And they can only put 2 residences on there based on environmental health. So they're limited.
Yeah, that's going to be the issue as far as residences on this property. Obviously, they're not going to get water and sewer there.
Yeah.
And it just like Commissioner Neville says, there's only going to be 2 residents per county ordinance and the joint water and sewer. There's only going to be able to be 2 residents there unless there's water and sewer. And I don't think they have water and sewer in their neighborhood. So that ain't happening. So that's what we're looking at, 2 houses and a sign. All right, Commissioners. Any additional comments or questions?
I'm okay with the rezone and the residences, all that. Do we want to approve a billboard via PD text? That's my question. Is that something we want to set a precedence for?
That's obviously a concern, Commissioner Higgins. Thank you for bringing that up. That's my concern. And I think the answer is no.
I mean, anyone and everyone could do that. I mean, it'd come to us, but I don't know. I have a little issue with that.
And I should know this, but what zoning are billboards allowed in? I know they're probably highway commercial, in FA?
Yes,
also?
highway commercial, freeway commercial, general, some of the industrial districts, and then if the PD does allow a billboard, then
Right.
specified in there.
Ms. Leaf, when this came before us before, what was the proposed zone, or the requested zoning for that little triangle piece?
So when it came before you all, before it was a freeway commercial request.
Okay.
And so there was some interest in limiting the type of uses that could be there, if a billboard was allowed, but maybe you couldn't fit a travel stop or something on that area. But yeah, those were the concerns then, but it was freeway commercial.
All right, commissioners, we need to make a move.
If, like I said, allowing it in PD tax, I mean, if we was to rezone like that additional parcel, well, like they tried to do before, commercial, I mean,
Or FA?
it's, like I said, it's up to us what restrictions we can put on that to safeguard it. Whereas if it was zoned freeway commercial or something like that, I don't know if we'd have the option to be able to put a buffer on there, even, or a berm if required, or the height even. But this being PD, we can put that into the PD text to further protect the residents out there, I think. And this is the way I'm looking at it anyway. Now, by all means, you all have a different view on that.
But it would still have to come to us for a rezone.
Well, you mean
FA,
modify
to
the master
FA.
plan if they wanted to do something else?
Yes.
Yeah, and also,
I'm assuming that would be a modification that would need to come back to us.
What was the change that was mentioned that would be modification?
Taking that small triangular portion and making it a FA or.
Yes, that would have to come back.
yeah. Right now, I think we can afford more protection for the residents with the PD text, because we
Yeah.
can have it written in there
Right.
as is, and here's what you can do, but here's what you can't do
Right.
on it. Okay. That being said, I will go ahead and try and put a motion here together. Motion to approve ZM 24-18 Blythe Estates rezone with the following modifications: that the sign height be no higher than 35 feet above the adjacent grade, and also require a 100-foot buffer adjacent to the interstate on both of these parcels to help protect the residents and shield them from the sign.
That's a natural buffer?
Yes, sir. And have those revisions in the PD text when submitted to the county commission. So that'd be a modification of the master plan too, showing the buffer on it. So, sorry, I'm getting a little wordy here, but, all right, to restate that, minimum or maximum 35 feet above the adjacent grade for the sign, 100-foot buffer adjacent to the interstate on both parcels, and modification of the master plan and zoning text with these items in it before it goes to the county commission.
That's in a motion?
Yes.
Okay, commissioners, I need a second. Okay, I'll second that motion. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Commissioners, or is there any discussion? Okay, no discussion. All in favor? Okay. All against? It would be 4-1. The motion passed in favor, 4 in favor, 4 against. Okay?
All right.
We got it. All right, our next item, we'll go back to the front of the agenda, which is 2.1 on the agenda, which is SP-24-15, 607th Street. Consider site plan approval for a new 1,500 square foot commercial building and associated infrastructure at 607th Street, parcel 01-08401. The site is zoned limited industrial. Gary Neville, shoot surveying agent for Chris Ronson, Janus Investments LLC. It's the owner.
Excuse me.
Okay. Mr. Neville is going to present this, so you'll recuse yourself? Okay. Mr. Neville is recused. from SP-24-15. Ms. Leaf.
Okay, great. So this is an addition to, or a new building on this existing site. You may recall in the last year, this property came before you for a rezone. They rezoned to limited industrial to be able to allow a gym, personal fitness establishment on the property. And so at this point, they are creating or building the building to house that particular use. And this is the property. It's on 7th Street and 341. This is what the building will look like, conceptual elevations. And then this is their site plan. On the bottom left-hand side, this is the existing building, and the new building will be back behind there in this back corner. And these are your possible motions. Thank you. That's
Okay.
it from staff.
All right. Commissioners, do we have any questions for Ms. Leaf? Okay, no questions for Ms. Leaf. Would the applicant like to step forward?
I would. Gary Neville, Shoup Surveying, and thank you for your service on this commission. As we've seen, it's not always fun, but this came before us 3-4 months ago, probably, for the rezone for this particular purpose right here, for them to put this building on. Its personal training center is what it's going to be. There already exists a chain link fence and a privacy fence around this site also, and it is somewhat wooded in the back, and I request that you approve as submitted.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions for Mr. Neville? All right, thank you, Mr. Neville. All right, it's time to open the public hearing period. Any folks that would like to step forward in favor? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Any folks that would like to step forward in opposition of SP 24-15? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve SP-24-15 as presented.
Second.
Okay, Commissioners, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? 4-0. All right, we're moving on to SP-24-18-5408 Golden Isles Parkway. Consider a site plan approval for a new 7,564 square feet commercial building and associated infrastructure at 5408 Golden Isles Parkway, parcel 03-21885. This site is zoned freeway commercial. Zach Johnson, Robert Civil Engineering, agent for Solid Rock Incorporated owner. Ms. Leaf?
Right, so this property is at the intersection of Golden Isles Parkway and Millennium Boulevard, so north of exit 38. It is zoned freeway commercial, and they are planning to do a new commercial building on the site. So this is a zoning map showing where it's located. It's in Millennium and Golden Isles Parkway. This is the conceptual elevation of the building. And then this is their site plan. And these are your possible motions. And Mr. Jake Lemmings is here from Robert Civil Engineering representing the application.
Okay, Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Leaf? Thank you, Ms. Leaf.
Good afternoon, Jake Lemmings, Robert Civil Engineering. So if I can go back just to kind of show you where we are here. Just to give you an area, that's I-95 Toyota right there. It's kind of where we are. So the bowling alley is right over here. But as Stephanie said, this is a commercial building. We're seeking, it's going to be 2 restaurants and then retail. We show all the parking requirements, meet all the parking requirements, meet all the buffers, setbacks, fully comply with all of the zoning and all the ordinances. So not really asking for anything on this one. You'll notice there's no pond or anything shown on site, so just go ahead and answer that question. It was part of a master drainage plan. for this whole track. There you can see the pond in this area here. There's actually a couple of different ponds. So it's part of a master drainage study. So we'll be connecting in with the drainage system to the existing pipe that runs along this back portion of the property here. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Lemmings? Okay, Mr. Lemmings, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, we're going to open the public hearing portion of this. Do I have any folks here in opposition of SP-24-18, 5408 Golden Isles Parkway? Anyone in opposition? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Do I have anyone in favor of SP-24-18? Okay, hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public portion period. Commissioners, let's have it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend approval of SP 24-18 as approved. Presented.
All right, we have a motion. Commissioners, I need a second.
A second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Commissioners, all in favor? 5-0. The motion passed. All right, moving right along, folks. SP-24-19, 5225 Habersham Street. Consider a site plan approval for 2 new 25,000 square foot commercial buildings and associated infrastructure at 5225 Habersham Street, parcel 03-14923. The site is zoned general industrial. Zach Johnson, Robert Silva Engineering Agent for Greg Dykstra, owner. Commissioner, Ms. Lee, I'm sorry.
Sure. So this property is 2 new buildings, 2 new commercial industrial use buildings, and it is zoned general industrial. This is where the property is located at Habersham. The aerial view of the property. And this is what the building is proposed to look like, or both buildings. And then this is their site plan for the project. And these are your possible motions. And I will note it says recommend approval, but it is approval because this is the final decision for MPC. And Jake Lemmings is here representing this application as well. Thank you.
Commissioner, any additional questions for Ms. Lee? All right, Mr. Lemmings, let's have it.
All right, Jake Lemmings, Robert Sill. So again, with this one, it's pretty straightforward. We're meeting all the setback requirements and all the parking requirements for this one. It's going to be 2. It's the same owner who owns this lot here, so he's looking to do 2 25,000 square foot commercial buildings. And we got proposed detention that'll be on site up in the front of the development. That will then, there's a drainage channel that kind of runs down through here, outflowing through there. So we meet all the buffers and setback requirements, and I'd like to ask for your approval for this one as well.
Thank you,
Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lemmings. Commissioners, do we have any questions for Mr. Jake Lemmings? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, the public portion period will be open now. Anyone in favor, please step forward. Okay, we have nobody, hearing none, seeing none. Nobody showed up to be in favor. So anyone in opposition of SP-24-19? Okay, we have no opposition. So commissioners, do you have any questions?
Nope.
All right, commissioners, I need a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve SP 2419 as submitted.
I'll second.
Okay. Commissioners, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? The vote is 5-0 in favor of SP-24-19. Okay, moving right along. Item 2.4 on the agenda is ZM-24-13, 7024 New Jessup Highway rezone. Consider approval for a rezone from basic industrial to highway commercial to allow commercial parking, recreational vehicle, and boat storage. The property is located at 7024 New Jessup Highway, parcel 03-07379. Chris Amos, CSEC Incorporated, agent for Southern Recycle Metals, owner, Ms. Leaf.
Great, thank you. So we're back to the rezones. So this property is currently zoned basic industrial, so they are looking to rezone a highway commercial because the use of highway commercial is called commercial parking that allows for these kind of RV, boat, vehicular storage. And so that is what they're looking to do on this property. So this is off of Highway 341. This is up near McKenzie, DePrater, in the Sterling area. As you can see, this is kind of a standalone basic industrial zone property. They are surrounded by FA. And so as staff, I did recommend suggesting some buffers around this property. If they do keep it as just open storage, there would be no site plan that would come before you all. And so this would be the time to require buffers if that is something you would want to see on this property. If they do buildings on the site for storage buildings, then that would come before you as a site plan and you would be looking at the buffers at that point in time. And so this is their proposal. And so these are your possible motions, and at the bottom, this is the possible motion that I recommended regarding the buffers, if that's something you'd like to add. So I'm not sure if there's anyone here this evening representing this application. Is there anyone? I don't think we have a representative tonight.
I don't see Mr. Amos. All right, commissioners, do we have any, I'm sorry.
Well, no representative. It's up to you if you want to proceed with it or defer.
Yeah.
They can have representation.
You can have a public hearing or you can decide to defer it. It's up to you.
Let's just do it the way we've been doing it. It'll be fine with me. I don't like change that much. Okay, any questions for Ms. Lee?
Can you go back one slide?
Sure.
Well, 2 slides, sorry.
Sure.
3 slides.
3 sides.
Where you showed the aerial,
There you go,
sorry.
there you go.
Yeah, so is there any, I guess on I guess that would be the east side, there's some natural buffer, and on the rear, is there any?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I'm not sure what the depth is of that,
Right.
but there is some. Yeah.
And, okay, then when you go back forward to their plan,
Sure. Oops, wrong way.
a second, open storage. So the little parking spaces aren't covered, they're just little parking spaces?
It doesn't look like on the plan that they are, so if they do end up covering anything, then it will have a site plan that'll come to you all, but if they keep it just open.
Okay.
And then the existing building is, that's the existing building up at the front?
Yes, they are, proposing to keep that existing building.
Mr. Mumford.
If there's a measurement anywhere, how far that parking is off of the. Gary, how much do you think that is off the property line? The paved area or?
Probably 20 feet, I'm thinking. I'm looking for a scale on this.
It's 50 feet.
I didn't see a
50 feet parking spaces.
north is straight up the page.
I mean, these are 50 feet.
Mr. Mumford, real quick, since Mr. Amos is not here, it's not necessary legally that we defer this, is it? We can go ahead and take care of this now. Okay, let's do it.
That's all I got
Okay, that's all you got?
at the moment.
All right, perfect. All right.
Looks like 20 feet, which would be great for a buffer.
Okay. All right. So we have any other questions for Ms. Lee?
No, at the moment.
Okay. Ms. Leaf, since we don't have an agent, we're gonna go straight to the public hearing portion. Does anyone like to speak in favor of ZM-24-13? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Do we have anyone in the audience that would like to speak against, in opposition of ZM-24-13? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. We'll close that portion of the public hearing. And commissioners, discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval of ZM-24-13 as presented.
You want to require a buffer at this time?
I apologize.
Okay.
Can we go back to, there we go.
Type A buffer?
To approve ZM-24-13 with the condition that a type A buffer be installed along New Jessup Highway. And is installed or 20 feet of natural vegetation buffer is maintained along the side and rear property lines.
And,
Did I
Commissioner,
get that right?
for the buffer along New Jessup, did you say a type A or a type E?
Type E on
Type E, okay.
along New Jessup
Thank
Highway.
you.
Type A, did I say A to begin with?
Yeah.
I apologize. Yeah, type A buffer is installed or 20 feet of natural vegetative buffer maintained along the side and the rear property lines.
Okay, we got an A buffer on the side and the rear, and got an E buffer in the front.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. So, go ahead.
Just remind us what the E is.
So the E is 10 feet of landscaping, so there's some trees and shrubs, and it's the typical one we see along public roadways.
Okay. All right.
I'll second that.
We got a motion and a second. Commissioners, is there any discussion? Okay, everyone in favor? The vote is 5-0 in favor of ZM-24-13. Okay, moving right along, folks. Item 2.5, which is ZM-24-17-4774 New Jessup Highway rezone. Consider approval to a rezone to 2 properties to a planned development district for the purpose of bringing all properties into one planned development district to allow for a caretaker manufactured home on site. Properties are zoned limited industrial, R9, and freeway commercial. The property is located at 4774 New Jessup Highway, and additional property is located at 50 Creek Lane, parcels 03-04179 and 03-27066. Zach Johnson, Robert Civil Engineering, agent for owner, Woodrow Sap Well Drilling. Ms. Leaf.
Okay. So this property is currently has 3 different zoning districts. It's got LI, R9, and FC on the property. So really one of the key goals of this particular rezone is to really incorporate all of their uses into one planned development district, as well as to be able to allow a use of a caretaker, security guard, manufactured home or housing unit, so they can have a caretaker on site to help with security on the property. So this is the property here. So this star right here, as you can see, there's R9, and then LI is this gray area, and then it goes to R9 again. And then this property that kind of goes towards the marsh to the north is freeway commercial. So it's these properties that want to consolidate all into one PD. Currently where their office and some of their commercial parking is located, it's kind of crossing across the one-family residential and the LI. So any of that is in the R9 is currently non-conforming. So this allows us to bring the property into conformance and add this additional use for the security of their property. So here's just an excerpt of the permitted uses they are proposing for this planned development district. So a lot of it is currently what they have on site with the offices, as well as some other light industrial type uses. And then number 10 is the watchman or caretaker, one-family dwelling or mobile home on the property. And then this is their planned development text. It's also in your packet. And then this is their master plan that they've submitted. And so just to orient you, this is Highway 341 right here. So their existing office is here. And then the property does extend to the marsh as well. And these are your possible motions. And Mr. Lemmings is here from Robert Civil Engineering representing the application.
All right, any questions for Ms. Leaf, commissioners?
Yeah, you say that's the master plan there?
That is what, we have in our records for the master plan.
Yeah, I guess my question is, does it meet the requirements, under the master plan requirements? And I would, this needs to be done. I agree, but I just want to make sure we're not doing something that would come back and bite us later, is all, or the client.
So yeah, as I mentioned with the other application, when the question about the master plan came up, there are some criteria for what a master plan needs to show, but there has been a kind of more flexible interpretation of that for some projects. But if that's something that we want to, really take a look at and make sure we're getting more information on there, then we can definitely bring that back to our staff and make sure that we're asking applicants for that, because most of what we're seeing the applicants are submitting look more like this.
Well, I'll defer to y'all if you think it meets the requirement for it, but,
Sure.
Do we know the location, the location of the caretaker's manufactured home?
They have not indicated that on here, no.
Does Roberts Engineering know? Yes, okay, good.
All right, Ms. Lee, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Jake
Mr.
Lemmings.
Roberts Engineering, let's have it.
Last one. All right, so Jake Lemmings, Robert Civil. So the intent is to really clean this area up. So they own this parcel here and also this parcel back here. There's no plan to do anything with this parcel. They primarily use this one. They're just doing this more to kind of clean up. But they utilize most of this parcel here already for their commercial development. So their plan is to have the caretaker, they have access back through this road here. So their plan is to have the caretaker home still, I don't know the exact location, but I was told in close proximity to this because they're dealing with a lot of break-ins. And so they're just trying to have a facility so somebody could live on site and keep an eye on everything. So I know, this is kind of wooded back in here. So they said it was going to be close, I'm guessing somewhere in this area. I don't know the exact location. But this is used more as a kind of a zoning map, just showing all of the, all the parcels that would be brought into this PD. But there's no plan to do anything other. It's still the same uses as what was being done. There's no plan on a future site plan, anything like that. It's really just to do a manufactured home as a caretaker facility. And it would just be one mobile home.
All right, Commissioners. Any questions from Mr. Lemons? Mr. Lemons, it's an absolute disgrace for a business owner, an established business owner, to have to take this avenue. It's a disgrace on our community. It's a disgrace on our state and our nation that we have become that society. That's a great expense to protect well drilling equipment.
Absolutely.
It's just mind-boggling to me.
Absolutely.
All right, folks. I guess it's time to ask if we open the public portion period, and let's have anyone step in opposition of the rezone for ZM 24-17. Anyone in opposition? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Do we have anyone in favor of ZM-24-17? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of ZM-24-17 as presented.
I'll second that. All right, Commissioners, any discussion? All right, all in favor? The vote is 5-0 in favor of ZM 24-17. All right, Ms. Leaf, I think ZM 24-16 has been deferred, hasn't it?
So Commissioners, they have requested, the applicant did request to defer it to August. So if you all could take a vote to make that deferral, if that is your choice. And I will note, we will also be renoticing this because there were a couple other parcels that are part of this rezone request that had not been included in the notice that went out. So we need to renotice that to include all the property that's part of the rezone.
All right, Commissioners, I need a motion for ZM-24-16 to be deferred.
Mr. Chair,
Before we do that, is there a way we could have said that at the beginning of the meeting? Yeah. Sorry. I was like, what are they here for? I know it's further down, but they just spent their Tuesday night with us. If we knew, just in the future, can we, I mean, is that against protocol, I guess? No, so we could, at the beginning of the meeting in the future, say, this has been, item has been, has, a request for deferral has been made.
Yes, yeah, that could
We still
definitely
have
be.
to approve the deferral, so, I mean, it's
Right.
not necessarily gonna for sure get deferred, but a lot.
And folks, as the chairman of this board, I do apologize. Obviously, y'all sit and watch what we go through, and it's very difficult and very taxing to have to tell people what they can and what they can't do with their property. And I do apologize personally for not making that deferral, not making you aware of that deferral at the beginning of the meeting.
Could we ask a quick question? What exactly is going to be done with this property? Because we heard it's been an RV park and then.
Yeah, last year was proposed an RV park, and now they're proposing it as a residential area.
No, that's supposed to be a conservation area forever.
Are there 28 units going in there? Or what's going in there?
Yeah, I can, yeah, if you want to
I just-
contact, yeah, I can contact you tomorrow and give you, all the information. It's what they love it. Yeah, I write down your phone number.
So Ms. Leaf, you're asking them to call you and contact you tomorrow? I think that would be appropriate.
Yeah, and you didn't do anything wrong. We've never, in my experience, said that at the beginning, so it'd be great if we could, though.
Yeah, but that's part of my job is to make sure things like that happen. And I knew that was deferred, but I didn't,
We didn't know what they're there for.
my mind
Yeah,
was on
yeah.
something else, and I do apologize. I take full responsibility for that. Okay, commissioners, I need a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to defer ZM 2416 to the August 6th MPC meeting.
Okay, I got a motion, I need a second.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? That motion passed, 5-0. Thank you, everybody. And we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor? 5-0.